Thank God it's Friday. Seriously, right? You ready, Johnny?
Yeah.
All right, Joe, it's time to go, bud.
Have a good day, Johnny. You too. Yeah, you too, Joey. Have a good one, bud.
It's going on 6:40, so we really got to get out of here. Good morning, Ruby.
Hello.
So, Joey and Johnny have been miserable for days with allergies, and now it's hit me too. Sneezing and itchy eyes and just kind of miserable. I'm pretty sure it's allergies and not a cold. We're taking Allegra, but you know, it's only so effective at the worst times of the year. I'm more allergic to grass and ragweed than I am to the pine pollen, but still. So I'm kind of suffering a little bit this morning, and I know Joey's suffering. This morning we have another swallowtail butterfly picture. This is sort of a half black, half yellow guy. The body is sort of yellow and the black on his wings are a little less black than sometimes seen. Really interesting, and a nice light here allowed for some pretty good detail. One of the reasons why I don't mind the drive to school in the morning is the sunrise. I'm pretty happy that you know, this time of year I get to enjoy that. I guess in the summertime, you know, it'll be just daylight out when we leave, and that's kind of boring. I like watching the sunrise.
That was a mattress.
Johnny's claiming my mystery box for me, my field research after 7 days.
And it was a Moltres.
Way cool.
So the first day is a Moltres. Fortunately for Mom, she already has like 50 of them.
That's not true, but I do have more Moltres, I think, than any other legendary, so that's not as much of a win for me as you might think.
But what is a win is you can use any of your items to catch it. So you don't just have to use the special Pokeballs. They force you to use in the raids.
You get Ultra Balls and whatever, and
Yep.
golden raspberries.
But it's
Way
still
cool.
not easy to catch.
Way cool. Have a good day.
You too, Mom.
Love you, buddy.
I love you too.
Do good at school. I'm parked doing a Pokemon battle, and for about 3 days now this police vehicle has been parked here on Main Street. I assume this is the most effective way to slow down speeders that they could come up with. I never speed down Main Street, but yeah, some people think they have the right to. Guys waiting to say hi to me? Good morning again. I'm out in the front porch just checking in with the bluebirds. I just watched the female bluebird go into the nest with some more pine straw in her mouth. They should be about done building. It only takes them a day or two. It's supposed to be pretty cold here this weekend, so if they do decide to wait just a few more days before laying eggs, that's probably a good thing. Well, there's Mama Bluebird with her nesting materials. She actually sees me and is waiting for me to leave, so I'll admire her for a minute or two and then go back in the house. Here's her mate. He's a little higher in the tree. I have not seen him carry any of the nesting materials, only her. But every time she shows up with the materials, he keeps guard out on the tree for her. So Dawn saw on the news and had read in the paper about how the governor and the legislature in the state of North Carolina are involved in a legal dispute over who gets to spend the Volkswagen Dieselgate money. That was a little surprise to hear that. The governor happens to be Democratic and the legislature happens to be Republican. And so I asked Don if he would do a little more research so we could report on exactly what the battle is, or give an update state of North Carolina wise on what's going on. And he's read several more good articles and thinks he's got a handle on it. And I'm going to turn it over to him so he can fill you in on the details of what's going on behind the scenes.
Hi, you probably remember back on March 2nd in video 261, I talked about the Volkswagen settlement, the $14.9 billion Volkswagen Dieselgate settlement. Now, to just refresh your mind, there's three parts of this settlement. The $14.9 billion is divided into $10 billion for buyback of the vehicles, $2 billion to fund Electrify America, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Volkswagen that's going to be installing electric vehicle charging stations throughout the country. However, $800 million of that $2 billion has to go to California, so the other 49 states are going to only get the $1.2 billion to split, so it's going to be interesting to see how that works. And the last part of that is $2.9 billion for environmental mitigation. That $2.9 billion is divided up based solely upon how many diesel cars you had from Volkswagen, 2-liter and 3-liter diesels. They're a very specific number. North Carolina had 18,702, I think is the number, 18,000. And so out of that, because of that, North Carolina is entitled to $92 million. Well, here in the paper in the last couple days and on the television news, they've been talking about a battle between the governor's office, Governor Roy Cooper, who's a Democrat, and the state legislature, which is highly Republican, has a strong super Republican majority on both the House and the Senate. And they've been fighting about how to spend this $92 million. Well, basically the net of it is the legislature last year, when they got wind of the settlement was coming their way, they passed a law that said that the money, based on the dissent decree, they aren't saying we're going to ignore the dissent decree. They said we're going to follow the dissent decree, but we're going to filter that with basically three things. We want those projects to be chosen based on the possibility that they would either create new jobs or add additional jobs to existing companies. That was the top priority the legislature wanted to use to spend that money. In other words, whatever those projects, whatever those, there's 10 areas, whichever those 10 areas comes to the top, they want it filtered by, is it going to create jobs in North Carolina? The second one is, could it, if it's not going to create jobs, would it buy products from North Carolina businesses? So like if maybe I manufactured school buses or something in North Carolina, would it buy products from North Carolina businesses? And the third was, would it help small businesses that the legislature would rather the money go into supporting the small businesses in North Carolina. So that was the restrictions that the legislature put on it. Well, the governor, he hasn't actually stated what his positions are. He just says that what the legislature wants to use, or how they want to modify the spending, isn't valid. He's the one that gets to add the color to the spending, let's call it. So anyway, since then, on March 30th, what probably brought all this to a head is the Department of Environmental Quality, which is the North Carolina agency, has come up with their recommendations. Their recommendations were collected from public comments that they received in November and December of last year. They've now looked at all the comments. There was almost 900 comments, and they looked at them. They threw out the ineligible comments that didn't fall within the 10 areas of the dissent decree, and they came up with a list of items or how they would recommend the spending. And the spending they recommended was school bus replacement. 35% of the money should be used for school bus replacement. 20% of the money should be used for transit bus replacement. 10% of the money should be used for heavy-duty on-road vehicle programs. 15% of the money should be used for heavy-duty off-road vehicle programs. And 15% of the money should be used for zero-emission vehicle infrastructure. Basically, think public charging stations for EVs. And it's also capped at 15%. The settlement said you can only spend 15% of these funds towards that. And that, of course, was so that Electrify America gets a monopoly. They don't want any competitors. So anyway, that's what the Department of Environmental Quality did. And right now, it hasn't really been decided. And there's this court battle going on in North Carolina that's ultimately going to decide. The governor didn't say he was actually in favor of these areas, nor did the legislature say they are opposed to those areas. But basically, what's happening here is the state agencies come up with a list, and the official position of the legislature is, well, it hasn't been officially submitted to the legislature, so we're not going to comment. And the governor basically says it's a bigger issue than just this. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
right, I've got the boys and we're very excited that it's Friday. Unfortunately, poor Joey is really not feeling good. I guess for him it probably is a cold. After I took my Allegra this morning, I've been better. Not great, but better. So fingers crossed it won't get worse for me. Or that Johnny won't get it. Or worse, that Dawn won't get it, but he just doesn't get sick. Alright, I stopped and got Joey a frosted coffee at Chick-fil-A to try to resurrect him a little bit. He just doesn't feel good. And Johnny and I are going into Sprint to check out the iPhone. So Johnny's very excited about wireless charging. This is the first time he's ever had his phone on a wireless charger.
Give it a second.
And it'll light up or it'll
do that.
Yep, it's telling you it's charging. I can see it there.
It tells you it's wirelessly down here.
Wow, that's cool. I like it. Well, I guess that's always a backup plan. If you mess up the charging port, you get the wireless, and then that doesn't matter so much, right? So I'm here playing with the X, and when you pick it up, it lights up. It sort of comes alive. You know, I used to swipe up the 6, so swiping up is not too big of a deal. Yeah, there's more screen real estate there, so that's nice. I wasn't able to try Pokemon Go or any other real apps on it though, which was sort of a negative. I'd like to have tried it. Johnny's holding the 8 Plus next to the X. And it didn't really feel that much too big in my hand, but yeah, that's just a lot more phone to try to keep up and not drop and not break the glass. And yeah, and this 8, it looks puny. It looks small. Hold it up next to the X, Johnny. I mean, why would I want to go with that much less screen? So
this is like 5 size.
I'm really leaning toward the X. I'm gonna think on it just a bit more.
This is like the size of the 5.
Yeah, it's tiny. We're each going our separate ways for exercise again.
Yeah, sure are.
Even on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, don't get no peace for the every day.
I got industrious tonight and made homemade fried rice and sesame chicken with broccoli.